on the 18th of April of 75. Hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day and year. He said to his friend, if the British march by land or sea from the town tonight, hang a lantern in the belfry arch of the North Church Tower at the signal light. One if by land, two if by sea, and if on the opposite shore, I'll be ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm for the country folk to be up and armed. Then he said goodnight as the muffled oar silently rowed to the Charleston shore. Just as the moon rose over the bay, where swinging wide at her morning sleigh was the Somerset, the British man of war. A phantom ship with each mast and spar across the moon like a prison bar, and a huge black hulk that was magnified by its own reflection in the tide. Meanwhile, his friend through alley and street wanders and watches with eager ears, till in the silence around him he hears the muster of men at the barrack door, the sound of arms and the tramp of feet, and the measured tread of the grenadiers marching down to their boats on the shore. Then he climbed the tower of Old North Church by the wooden stairs with a stealthily tread to the belfry chamber overhead and startled the pigeons from their perch. On the somber rafters, the round made masses of moving shapes and shapes. By the trembling ladder, steep and tall, to the highest window in the wall, where he paused to listen and look down, a moment on the roofs of the town, and the moonlight flowing over all. Beneath in the churchyard lay the dead, and their night encampment on the hill, wrapped in silence so deep and still that he could hear, like a sentinel's tread, the watchful night wind as it went, creeping along from tent to tent, and seeming to whisper, all is well. A moment only he feels the spell of the place and the hour and the secret dread of the lonely belfry and the dead. For suddenly all his thoughts are bent on shadowy something far away where the river widens to meet the bay. A line of black that bends and floats on a rising tide like a bridge of boats. Meanwhile, impatient to mount and ride, booted and spurred with heavy stride, on the opposite shore walked old Reveres. Now I patted his horse aside, he gazed down at the landscape far and near, then impetuous stamped the earth and turned and tightened his saddle girth. But mostly he watched with eager search the belfry tower of Old North Church. As it rose above the graves on the hill, lonely and spectral, somber and still, and lo as he looks on the belfry's height, a glimmer and then a gleam of light. He springs to the saddle, the bridle he turns, but lingers and gazes, till fall on his sight a second lamp in the belfry burns. A hurry of folks in the village street, a shape from the moonlight, a bulk in the dark, and beneath from the pebbles and casting a spark, struck out by the steel, flying fearless and fleet. That was all, and yet through the gloom and light, the fate of a nation was riding that night. And the spark struck out, that steed in his flight kindled the land into flame with his teeth. He has left the village and mounted the steep. And beneath him, tranquil and broad and deep, in the mystic meeting the ocean tide, and under the altars that skirted its edge, now soft in the sand, now loud on the ledge, he has heard the tramp of his steed as he rode. It was quelled by the village clock when he crossed the bridge into Medford town. He heard the crowing of the cock and the barking of the farmer's dog, and felt the damp of the river's fog that rises after the sun goes down. It was one by one the village clock when he galloped into Lexington. He saw the village gilded weathercock swim in the moonlight as he passed, and the meeting house windows, black and bare, gazed at him with spectral stare, as if they already stood aghast at the bloody work that would look upon. It was two by the village clock, and he came upon to the bridge of conquered town. He heard the bleating of the flock and the twister of birds among the trees, and felt the breath of the morning breeze blowing over the meadows brown. And one was safe asleep in his bed, who at the bridge would be first to fall, who that day would be lying dead, pierced by a British musket ball. You know the rest. In the books you've read, how the British regulars fired and fled. How the farmers gave them ball for ball from behind each fence and farmyard wall, chasing the redcoats down the lane, then crossing the fields to emerge again under the trees at the turn of the road, and only pausing to fire and load. So to the night rode Paul Revere, and so to the night when his cry of alarm to every Middlesex village and farm, a cry of defiance, not of fear. A voice in the darkness, a knock at the door, and a word that shall echo forevermore. For born on the night wind of the past, through all of history to the last, in the hour of darkness and peril and need, the people will awaken and listen to hear the hurrying hoofbeats of that steed and the midnight message of Paul Revere.